the things you can draw on the acetate or the tracing paper with, we have to draw with something that will be dark enough to stop the light, because this is a photography process, and we'll need to stop the light from passing through certain areas. So let's say you're going to draw all of your big areas, your black areas. We need to fill that in with a solid black. Now, I will give each, in your kit when you get here, you will get 3 of these markers, Posca markers. I don't know if you have them in the United States. I think they do. But you'll get a set of 3, a big one, a middle-sized one, and a real fine one that you can draw on your tracing paper or your acetate with this. And it's heavy enough to stop the light. Not all markers are the same. Some are really watery and really transparent. And if you draw your whole thing out with them, the light's going to pass right through and it's not going to work. So you have to have the really opaque, and it says opaque marker on here. I'm sure there must be the equivalent in the United States. If you don't have, you might have Posca. You might want to, if you can photograph that. Okay. Other things you can use, plain black India ink. You can draw with that. And you can get an old-fashioned quill pen and a nib, which are really cheap, and you can draw with that. And if you're good with pen and ink, this is wonderful. You have to learn how much pressure to put on. If you want, you can also get an architect pen. I'll have these pen and ink and things like that in the studio and this kind of thing. But if you want to get a rapidograph pen, you have to get your own. Those work fine, too, of course, for drawing out designs. And if you buy a rapidograph pen or you bring one of your rapidograph pens with you, don't bring a really tiny nib. We need the lines to be a little bit stronger because the light that photographs the screen is pretty strong, and it might not let those little tiny, tiny lines come through. So don't go too small on the number. Let's see what else we have here. Oh, I have some acrylic paint, opaque paint, for really big areas that we need to paint out. That we'll probably have to paint on acetate. So each one of your colors in your design will have a sheet. If it's a 4-color design, you have 4 separate sheets. One with your main outline, I guess, and the other 3 with all your fill-in colors that we will prepare with one of these mediums. When you're here, I'll tell you what's best for which parts of your design. I'll look at your design and we'll figure out together what you should. Oh, another thing you could use that I forgot are lithograph crayons. Lithograph crayons work really, really well and give you a nice crayon-like texture. I'm just going to go through a couple of these acetates so you can see how people, these are not their first projects, but you can see how people analyze things and broke it down. These were mostly textile patterns, but we still draw them up the same, whether they're textiles or they're drawings or photographs. We still break them down the same way. So this person got some inspiration from a circular pattern. And there's lots of circular patterns in Florence in the architecture, the stained glass windows, decorations on doors and windows. And there's lots of circular patterns. So if you like that, it also works well if you're a textile person to make a scarf design with it, or a pillow design with a circular pattern. So these are, a person was working with this circle that they found. There's an image. It was just 1/4. And of course, if we put it together, you get a full circle or half a circle like a fan. So these are some of her these are some of the actual separations that went on the screen. If you notice, there's also a red color here, Rosso Coprenti, red blockout. It's gotten a little bit hard to get a hold of, but I've played around with the acrylic black. Seems to work fine as a substitute. There were also some red special marker pens that are hard to get too, but I found the right pens in black that are okay. So this is what she actually put on the screen right here. This, and this one that she put on the screen. You'll be making, especially your first final ones before we make the screen, in front of me so that I can check and make sure everything is dark, opaque enough, and it's drawn right so that it works on our screen, nice and clear like you see these here. Here's another one to show you, this one. With the textile people, have to show you how to make a repeat. And there's a pretty simple way with pieces of ordinary paper. I use graph paper normally, and we make we have 4 little pieces that we keep moving around, and it brings all the ends together into the middle. And then you draw your design, and then when you make more repeats of it, with photocopies, you can put all of these repeats together, and they all fit. Then we have to do a little bit of work on the outer edges, how they're going to fit when you roll it around and bring it together so that they actually fit into each other. This is something I will have to have a whole lesson with in class. But just to give you an idea, some of the things we're going to do. So this was her inspiration, and she worked it out. It's kind of an African print. She worked it out in a repeat. This was the main color. And I didn't find the other acetates, but after she got all her colors, before we printed it on the fabric, we printed the whole thing on a piece of acetate so that you can use that as a registration guide. This is a guide to help you register your print when you're printing your fabric. So you'll have to make this first. Here's another textile, and you can see her little unit of giraffes. You can see each of her little pieces of tracing paper, how it fits together and makes her repeat. And this repeat is called a half drop. You see there's part of it higher over here, part of it lower here. I will go over all of these different units, block, half drop, or brick, repeat. I'll go over all of that in class. You can probably look some of that up online too. This one. I like this textile was really quite nice. It was inspired from the Duomo. Can you see the little domes and the windows? How she used them into a design. It was 2 colors. So the 2 sheets of acetate right here. It was just a 2-color one. These are the 2 separations. On the first one, we're going to mainly draw, but when we're drawing, we tend to just think in flat, solid shapes or just lines. There's also texture. If you want to get texture, well, one of the ways is with the lithograph crayon, which I don't happen to have here right now, that you can make rubbings, or you can just draw with it like a Crayola like you did when you were a child. Or another way you can get a lot of textures is photocopying. Like this person photocopied burlap in rough fabric and used those photocopy pieces and cut them up into an interesting pattern for a textile. Look, see the beautiful textures you can get from photocopies. We have a photocopy machine in the studio, so we can use it to help us make these things. Actually, this person made a large quilt. This is just one of the patches. It's quite nice. This girl was from Japan, the island. What's the southernmost island of Japan? Anyway, she was from Japan, and she made a beautiful design inspired from her native country, a Japanese motif. This is her inspiration, her little 4-piece of paper repeat. Then she made a lot of photocopies of those, and then we put this together. And we checked all the sides to make sure the top and bottom and the 2 sides fit together. And these are all of her separations. Let me just... this is the main one, which we usually draw that one first, and then we can leave that one as our guide to do the fill-in colors, the other colors. These are 1, 2, 3, 4 colors. This was 4 colors, this one. So each one. And this is just a paper copy, but she made a beautiful fabric of this print. And it looks like she maybe used some metallic paint. I have some metallic paints here, but we have to be careful with them because they're not so easy to print because they dry in the screen very easily. So I have to see if you're capable of using them first. The other paint, the transparent colors, are much easier to print with. This was inspired from Gustav Klimt. And there was I believe at the time this person made this design, there was a very big Klimt show at the Palazzo Strozzi. And so a lot of my people that semester made things with Gustav Klimt. So this is her paper idea, taking inspiration. This is this one is really complicated. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. This person definitely was one of my textile fashion majors and was studying to be a textile or fashion designer. So she made a pretty complicated project. And this kind of a design works really well for fabrics to make clothes. I think I got through everything that was on the table. Okay, I want you to just get a sketchbook before you come to Florence. Start drawing sketches. Bring find things online. Bring imagery with you that you like, and we'll have a little walk around the first week to get inspiration for some things about Florence, some things that you might not be able to find online, little details in the architecture, things in the pavement, tabernacles, wine doors. Do you know about the wine doors? They're pretty interesting too. They used to sell wine through these little doors. That you might be able to find online, actually.